Okay, so there's four of us today. Is Sarah going to be joining us, Brian, or
Yeah, she is. She's just kind
she's
of doing a
busy?
few things real quick.
I imagine we're going to have a few people kind of coming in. I was not told that the rest of our board wouldn't be here for the most part. So I know it's 4 o'clock and that's difficult for a lot of people. And for people who will be watching this after the fact, we are moving our meeting to Thursdays at 10 a.m. because it's hard to get locked back into doing these meetings when it's in the afternoon. And I think people, like I asked a question for the people on my mailing list, and there was kind of a resounding 10 a.m. would be better for us. So that is going to be the way we do it going forward. And this is going to be our last 4 p.m. meeting. So with that said, Mark, you put together an application for membership in the farm, in the co-op, which is awesome. And I want to make sure that, you know, everybody gets to know, like, and trust you. And so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk to us about your business.
So my name is Mark LaPaglia. I'm actually from Indiana. I moved out here in 2017, but I quickly became friends with Travis Ashley and Danny Mendoza. Danny was our testing agent at Drop Science at the time, and Travis was my boss at Drop Science at the time. In 2018, we decided to quit and run Alta Gardens, which was a, farm that was under a different name. We kind of pretty much redid everything. We tore out beds, we redid everything. Sorry, hey guys for joining. I'm Mark.
Yeah, a couple more people.
Yeah, so we tore out a lot of the beds and stuff, and a lot of the greenhouses weren't operating right. So we changed how the whole operations went down, and we grew how we wanted to grow it, which was straight into the ground, right on top of the ground. That's our specialty. We pretty much just work into the field every year, dry amendments and stuff like that. And then we'll drip either fermented fish stuff, some KNF stuff. We work 75% of the KNF line. And then we pretty much do dry amendment, guano, that type of growing. So what we really strive for is organicness, but yeah, we use inputs and stuff like that. We till straight into the ground. We're not no-till or anything like that. We're just trying to make really potent, good, full high that I know everyone on this channel and in this organization is a producer of really good herb that gets people higher than 15 minutes like the average people do out there nowadays. But sorry, I saw that question pop up.
Yeah, what's strange?
So we actually breed and grow or breed and pheno hunt other people's stuff too. So we pheno hunted Kushkirk stuff recently and found Bubba's Blessing and Bubba's OG and Snapple Cookies, which is a strawberry banana cookies strain. The other Bubba's Blessing is a LRVK mixed with Bubba's Gift. The other Bubba's OG is a Bubba's Gift back cross. And so those are ones that I I'm really looking forward to this year. Last year we had one male because we've been pheno hunting so much the last 2 years. We had one male pop up in our field, and so 75% of our flour was unsellable as flour this year. So yeah, we've been selling our bumper crop as our main stock, and then yeah. And then yeah, dude, we major respect there, and just saying you guys grow so amazing out there. But it's it was crazy because it really changed how we looked at it, because we've never seeded that much fucking weed before. But it really became a nose of the grindstone, what can we do for this? We found someone who can separate seeds really well for pre-rolls, so we started that lineup. And we also started BHO out the wazoo, but we didn't get to it until July. So we just rolled those out in July just because of lack of funds. because we weren't selling our amazing dank purple punches and those things right out the gate in January and stuff like that. We were kind of behind the gun on money. So we're like, we're just coming of age. We've been doing this since 2019 was when we started in February. So this is our 4th season together. But we pretty much are like rounding the curve on profitability, not profitability, but breaking even pretty much on our project. Since we've been rebuilding a person's farm that wasn't really outfitted to even operate on the recreational level. Like, yeah, one person could have gone out there and done something, but we needed something for the 3 of us. And so we've been hiring a lot of locals, a lot of people that we've like grown to trust and everything like that. I say locals because I'm from Indiana, but it's like Travis and Danny laugh at me because they're pretty much like the bread and butter, the soul of the business. And I'm like the bureaucrat that has to go to meetings, and it kind of sucks because I'm from Indiana. But I've been smoking since I was like, 8th grade. And my passion's into breeding. That's like where I'm like really trying to like make our company stand out, is like really creating something of our own that we can say is like something that we stand behind, like the Bubba's Blessing and stuff like that. Like we found those highs, and it's like that's a staple high for our company now. Like we've said it, like this is like what we achieve for. This is what we, like we've worked cookies and cream from exotic genetics and like, stuff that gets you really high. It's really dank and stuff like that. But it's like finding your own thing and then giving that to the world and at a good price too, because that's what we've learned too, is like, that's the bread and butter for everyone right now, is like trying to find that perfect price and the audience to actually absorb it. So it's like, that's what we're really hoping to get, the 3-hour high that you get from an herb instead of like a concentrate for like something like that. But we are 90% owned by Andrew DiNardo. I want to be, 100% transparent on my introduction. Andrew DiNardo is a brain surgeon in Indiana. He was my like family best friend. He decided to move his investment because he wanted to start a business, and I was the manager of it in Indiana. We decided together that weed was a really good investment because we wanted to see the holistic side of it. We were focused on like CBD stuff at that time and like working into medicine. We thought it would advance a lot farther on the scientific and medicine side quicker. And so Andy thought he was going to be doing like research really quick. That's where he thought he was going to fit in and be like, in 2 years, we're going to be doing research with all these strains and all this stuff so that we can actually like give people medicine with information. Like that was our main focus and why we wanted to do this. But that didn't go down like that. And then 2 years later, I took over, and that's just the short story of it. But we say that we are a family ran organization because it is the 3 of us. It is a very small organization. We only get funded from him. We're not some large, Oscar Mayer Wiener funded thing. And it's not like Andy has like some big intention only to make money and that's it. So it's really just into like making a really dank product and putting us out there as trying to teach people, this is more than just a weed. This is a terpene entourage effect that can affect your life in a very good way. Yes, Andy does own the property, and he put a loan in for the building that we're actually paying back on. So he's trying to keep his ownership down low, but there's him, us 3 that own it, and then there's 2 of his brothers. So his 3 brothers own the majority of the company because they're like 20%, but me and the other partners own 18%. So that's how that goes. I think I've rambled enough.
I just want to make sure we're recording this video, so I just want to make sure that it's okay that we that we share this video, and you're okay with the owners sharing that information with the wider audience for those people who do watch it. And
within our group.
People do watch it.
Yeah. Within the group of everyone in the organization, for sure.
Yeah, right on, right on. Does anybody have questions for Mark? There were some like people in the chat room. Who was it that asked questions? So Sarah asked, might you ask people to open the chat window to see messages? Oh, well, I think Mark, you answered these questions. Talked about your strains, and you talked about the ownership of the farm, which is important. And we're going to have you back for a meeting with just the board members too, which would be kind of like, that's the interview. But right now it's just kind of like, we were just inviting you to introduce yourself to, to the greater, like, people who are connected with the co-op now. But
Yeah, and I'd love to hear like your guys' thing, because it's like your take on us being a family organization or a Oregon family farm, because I'm the only one from out of state. Danny is the grower. I pretty much just push papers for them, but they're like, they're the leaders of every single meeting. They're like, but we are trying to keep it like small and a family organization. Like, and I think that's the most important thing that your guys' group focuses on, but I don't want to be like, hey, the CEO's from Indiana.
yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron, you got your hand up. What are you thinking?
Well, I'll touch on that point that you talk about as far as like the ownership structures and us wanting to keep it farmer owned. I think we're pretty loose as far as what that's defined by. I think you encompass a lot of the ideals as far as what we consider for membership, and just solely based upon like the ownership structure. Like, we ideally would love for all these farms to be owned people not having outside investor capital, but the fact is that we do. I have a business partner. He's a doctor. He's an anesthesiologist, and out of the Bay. He took a job in Fresno recently because we were struggling to make payrolls and rents and stuff. So he moved away from his family just because he could make more money and work all the time. And he really believes in the medicinal value of it. He's even willing to put his name and reputation associated to the medicinal benefits of it. A lot like, like with a medical business partner, they have high aspirations, and and so it doesn't necessarily work out all the way that they think about it, but they have some great ideas and great work ethic. My dad's a doctor too, so I come from how to relate to those individuals and work with them well. But it's really been fortunate for me in this situation because it's been able to give us a little bit of funding when the business hasn't been able to bring it in. He's also owns the property here, and so the ownership structure, as far as considering out-of-state ownership, has been in our bylaws from the beginning. And really what it is the consideration of the members within the organization and what is the scope of the capital and or the operation. I think staying away from large funded grows that have full light indoors and multi-state operations and stuff like that is kind of what goes against what Southern Oregon Family Farm stands for, which is our small scope. But together, all of us as a group, our scope really drastically increases. And that's what's really exciting about bringing us small farmers together and being able to put our genius to work as a group, where on an individual level, we might not reach that full potential because we're so swamped with running a business. Like, for example, I have 2 tier 2s, and it's me and one other guy growing both tier 2s, and I'm still dealing with selling the product, dealing with, all the other overhead associated to it.
You got a wife at least?
Luckily for me, I have a partner with the trust fund, so she's able to afford food for us because the business hasn't been bringing it. And she doesn't really get involved in the business, mainly because weed isn't really her thing. And she has some health issues. Working outside and around mold and stuff isn't her thing. So we're trying to get her on her own thing, and it's not necessarily weed. If it works for her, then, but it just hasn't really much. So
for sure.
it's a lot, I have this whole business myself, my family is our family unit on the farm, but the whole operational standpoint is my best friend Raphael that lives on site, and we've been really great neighbor friends since we were in like 5th grade. And so him and I tackle it every day, and we use planting crews and harvest crews to help bring it in and bring it down. But other than that, we try to keep it really minimal. This year I couldn't afford mulch, so I'm battling weeds more than anything. And I'm trying to be really respectful of fire hazards and stuff, but man, I just gotta use weed eaters and just go to town because I want THC with weeds with THC, not the other way around. I like it that you guys use KNF organic practices. I really value those practices and the relationships that come out of the sustainable culture. You bring up an old friend, Kush Kirk, him and I go way back. That type of growing is something I stand by and believe in. Sadly, I'm a great example of someone that hasn't been able to put it to use at scale because I have 2 acres of it, and I've been resorting to using salt-based nutrients because of how easy it is to dump into a tank and be able to feed out things. I've tried for a couple years, but my potency numbers were a little low, and my business partner was like, dude, we can't, I had to prove that I could grow high testing stuff. And just by using nutrients alone, it was able to kind of change my program where I could supplement areas that I couldn't quite source enough nutrition. My main issue, I think, is not biodegrading inputs. I think one of my main issues is filtering out my inputs and the water delivery on how to get it to my plants.
Yeah.
Because I have drip lines and I can't pump any of that stuff through it. So I have to have a whole nother watering system. So I'm trying to develop like a flood system, but it's not easy when I have 40 12-foot by 200-foot rows.
Yeah, you're not alone. That's our #1 problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and trying to stay organic, that's like, it's the hardest thing in the world, is getting the true water to the plant. Like we've been battling with like proper sprinklers, because we used to do like guano hand drenching. That's how you get the best weed. That's how we always done it, is hand drenching, and we can't even lay down that water with like drip tapes. But yeah, we should talk and have some organic farmers alliance that's just like always trying to figure out better watering techniques. But right now we just have these major clearance sprinklers that we have like every I think 3 feet, and they do 3 feet on center, and so they're overlapping by 75%, and that's how we lay them down. And we can put guanos through there, but we've clogged it many a time. So, but it's like a labor of love. Like when we water, the whole day we water. We have 2 guys out there. It's Travis and Danny. They're pumping chicken shit all day until 2:30, and then we're out. We start at 6 a.m. They start the water. 2:30, we shut it off. It's crazy. But that's like, I don't know. That's like what it takes for organic. That's how we see it, I guess. But we're trying every day.
Veganic?
What was that?
What do you think about veganic?
You mean like half and half, like Synganic?
Veganic would be like no animal products. So what you're doing, except nothing from animal products. So
I mean, the only thing I use from animals is like fish aminos. We don't even buy like fish pulp or whatever, that fish crap that people use. We don't use it. Yeah, and dry amendments and plant meal. So like we just plant the living, like them. We probably have like I don't know, a gallon of nutrients per plant of dry amendment that goes into each plant. And so that's how we do it. And then we just lay down shit tons of water. So like for the first half of the year, you don't need to do anything except lay down immense amounts of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the end, you need to pump a guano But yeah, that's a byproduct, an animal byproduct.
Do you use hand rototillers or tractor?
Both depending on where we are.
So have you been
Yeah.
able to get your rows defined down where you're able to use a tractor to go through and get most of your work done?
Yeah. We have 5-foot rows. And we got a 5-foot tractor from Ace Hardware here in Eagle Point. Excuse me, sorry. And it's perfect. We got T-post set up and we just run that thing straight down the middle and put the amendments down the middle. Takes us like 2 days to lay down amendments with our whole team.
Cool.
Yeah. But I mean, we can all talk about that 100%. Like, I'm so open to amendment talk. Like, I love that. But yeah, that's how I want to get better, is like figuring out how to lay down water more and mulch better. Because I buy water also, everyone. So like my profit margins just shot to shit because I pay $40,000+ and the more plant matter I want, the more water I have to spend. So it's like,
Oh, man.
the guy who bought the property, we knew it was a downfall, but when we took over the property, we just didn't realize, like, but
Gas
we
prices.
grow, to tell everyone, we grow like 20,000 wet pounds with $35,000 in water. So
Yeah, no, I
ridiculous.
just had a friend that wants to be a part of this general meeting as well. He'll be here next week. And he's in a similar situation. He's paying just for water alone. It's just such an intense overhead that I really feel for you, because I felt I was alone in my own financial situation, because my own overhead, luckily for me, isn't due to water, but trying to think about affording water at that much each month would just be, really stressful, because like you said, you need it for your plant, tissue.
Yeah.
You can't not afford that bill, has to be paid for ahead of time almost. So that's
Yeah.
that's tough. But
The
yeah,
soilless medium cocoa stuff does not work with this kind of farming. Like, you cannot do it. It's like you water that shit once a week and you just have weird ass
that's why
wilty
you did
plants.
it in the ground,
Yeah. And we're so thankful. Like, I mean, it kind of worked out, but yeah.
That's still pretty difficult.
Yeah.
I don't, here, I'll lower my hand, but yeah, I wanted to say that part of, this group is all of us working together to help us, in joining this group, we see each other as peers, brothers and sisters, to help each other be better at what we're doing in our craft, and put our, I have this original idea of like a credit and debit system where every year everybody is encouraged / I don't know how you would require it, but it would be one thing that each member gives a certain amount of their whatever services that you do. Like, for example, one of our members, Circle D, has a really nice electrostatic sprayer on the back of his really skinny trailer. Another farm might be really good at nursery work and have genetics that they're willing to share with other members. Because sharing with other members is different than just selling it in the open market to every other competitor. There's some opportunity to create controlled production, and anyway, all of our different, like, I have a sewing machine. It takes seeds and puts them in trays, and it does like 10,000 in an hour. And so we all have these different services that we could help each other with, and through creating an exchange, let's say I hire Alta and we do like a credit system for some consultation, and that goes to your credit bank, and it also goes towards like the amount that everybody's supposed to use, because everybody's supposed to use up what they're allotted every year. If you don't use it up, then it just kind of goes away. So it encourages everybody to get in this exchange routine where we're helping each other. And then I was thinking about, well, how do we secure any type of funding for this? And so, because the Southern Oregon Family Farms' main purpose was to help facilitation of sales, and Southern Oregon Family Farms was in more of a role as far as managing a wholesale and getting our products to market, then there would be a securement associated to that role of facilitating of sales. So it could help us say, Alta, we did an exchange for consultation, but it was more than our allotment, and you would easily get paid because you don't need to come to me for it, because all of our money our sales is through our wholesale, and our terms would be, if I don't pay you, then you get paid, this / interest rate through sales. And so it can help facilitate not just exchange, but securities of exchange. And by having a profitability of the wholesale, by having some sort of fixed cost, because we're all looking at spending, upwards of 20% for a wholesaler. Well, Southern Oregon Family Farms' main role is not just to create that cash, but really to own the relationship. So Southern Oregon Family Farms is selling direct to these stores. So you Alta, as a member, have access to that full sheet. And we expect that if somebody is to leave the Southern Oregon Family Farms, well, one thing that they get to take with them is that relationship that Southern Oregon Family Farms has been building. Because we feel that that's really important for the farmer, is to maintain relationships with where it's being sold to. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that. Yeah, the idea of Southern Oregon Family Farms for Southern Oregon is to help survival and then ultimately through thriving, right? And it's the organization is not about making money in and of itself, but helping the farms thrive and survive. And it doesn't matter if you're in the co-op or you're not in the co-op. The co-op is going to do what it can to help the region survive. Because I've been talking about this to some of my dispensary clients. I've been talking about, like, what we're trying to do is avoid the collapse of the region's legacy farms. We don't want homogenization. We don't want the consolidation. So that's what's happening. Homogenization, consolidation. We're losing the diversity as the small farm goes under. So we really want to actually make that more robust. I would say that as a benefit of being a co-op owner, when we are positioning ourselves to be successful in Oregon, which then will ultimately position ourselves to be successful nationally once interstate commerce happens, that's when the organization will thrive in and of itself. And everybody who is associated with the co-op at that time is going to also do very well. But right now it's like, one for all and whatever that is, the Three Musketeer thing. So anyway, cool. Aaron, thank you for and that, like, credit debit system, we're definitely working something out on that, just baby steps as we go on, trying to keep the ball rolling, moving forward. But let's like transition. Like, Eddie, you want to talk about your event on Saturday? Like, in fact, do you want to like do kind of a formal introduction? Because I'm not sure if you have been given that opportunity
to talk about the event, or what was the last part you said?
Talking about yourself and what you've got going on, and then talking about the event itself.
Okay. I think most of you guys, the ones here today, know me fairly well, I think so.
Yeah, and it's and again, people do watch.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, for the recording. Right. So, okay, yeah. So real quick, I bought Dabtown in Medford just over a month ago, and we just finished a rebranding, or I wouldn't say finished, but we're far enough into a rebranding that it's not confusing anymore. So, but yeah, we're the Herbsman now, and for those that don't know, I'm a certified ganjier. So I coming into this venture and this industry and this region with, I think, a fairly unique intention as far as dispensary owners and people on the retail side of the rec market cannabis go right now. Just being that I'm not like outside money profiteer type of thing. I'm like really passionate about the industry. I'm really passionate about the people. I'm super passionate about farms and growers, and organic, regenerative craft farming practices is something I'm really into, something that I hope to find myself doing one day, we either professionally or just with my own really kick-ass medical grow. But that's the stuff that I'm really into, and just then promoting connoisseurship and just more understanding of what quality is within the consumer market, especially here locally, and hopefully, just seeing that kind of change through the efforts of others, working on the same types of things, that we just get a little bit of momentum built here to where people in the market, the actual consumers understand what quality is, understand how to quantify that, and actually recognize it themselves, and just overcome a lot of the just misconceptions about what quality is, specifically as it relates to indoor being the standard, which is, the pretty common consumer viewpoint right now, and kind of just really teaching people about how to look at flour or concentrates or whatever it is, and understand what good quality is, what bad quality is. I think a lot of that is just educating people on the anatomy of the plant and the bud itself, and what's where and how it works and why it works the way it does, so that then you can show them, this is why this trim job is bad, or this is why, this is too whatever that makes it not good. So yeah, so we're trying to put a lot of things into practice here in the shop that are different. We're swimming upstream and just trying to be innovative and create a little separation from sort of typical dispensary experience, and just make it more educational, and really trying to get people connected to not just like, how much THC am I getting for what price, but it's like, what farm does this come from? What are these guys about? And really trying to get some traction and help people connect, especially in this region, with local farmers who are growing killer flower. And I just hate seeing people who have great stuff being grown 10 minutes away from their house buy stuff from 4 hours away that is not nearly as good. So a lot of issues we're trying to tackle, but yeah, that's what I'm about. And the grand opening this week is just sort of our official. We were closing the sale. We didn't really get to where we wanted to be for 7/10. We closed 2 days before that, so we didn't get to do a whole lot. So we were like, let's give ourselves a month and try to throw another party and have a bunch of vendors and growers come in and meet customers and make a bunch of good deals and hopefully make some headway.
You're gonna have some farms being spotlighted there.
Yep. Brian and Sarah will be here.
I'll come down, come say what's up.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see all of you guys.
Yeah, I'll probably come by in the afternoon.
That'd be
We're there
great.
from 1 to 4 is our window.
I'm gonna try to make it. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, we got a little bit of Pat's flour in, and we got some dabs from Mark, and yeah, so we're getting the Southern Oregon family, and that's really like, like one of the things, like with the dabs with Mark and Brian and I have talked about some things too, is like one of the things I'm really trying to do whenever I can is if I see a spot in our inventory where there's something that I could go direct with a grower instead of buying from a distributor or a larger, basically a distributor or one of these larger vertical companies. So like pre-rolls or something, like single pre-roll tubes of like, we don't have to buy these from fire department or one of the big companies. I can pick up 3 or 4 strains from a local guy, another 3 or 4 from another guy. And as long as I can hit the same price points, it's easy to talk to customers and be like, well, I like to, work direct with the farmers, support the local economy as much as possible. And these are, and people latch onto that. It's just, they don't think about it unless you talk to them about it. So yeah, I'm just always looking for ways to kind of go direct and make it as beneficial for, the grower and the customer, and kind of keep as much of the money flowing right in this local economy instead of sending it out to, Portland or Eugene or wherever.
I wanted to ask you a question about going direct with the farmer. Do you find it logistically more difficult, and or what steps do you require the farm to reorder, and or what are you willing to do to create those reorders with farms direct? Because I think the wholesaler would just be out of convenience, right? Those guys are going to show up all the time.
Yeah.
They're going to put it right in front of you. You can grab some cash out of the safe, call it good. But with working direct,
yeah, it's
Same.
definitely more, I'd say I'm probably more unique in that, but I actually really prefer to just be like, I'll just shoot Brian a text, or I'll shoot Pat a text or Mark or whoever. but I kind of have been working on cultivating those relationships since before I moved up here. So to me, right, this could change because I mean, I'm only, it's still pretty early for me in the process. So I mean, my practices and procedures may, evolve at some point due to workload or something. But right now, at least, I like having the direct relationship. I don't really like having a rep come in who doesn't know anything about what they're selling me. And if I ask, well, how is this flower grown? If I have somebody like Cosmic Treehouse is one that comes in, and then actually, I think I've seen BZS on that menu.
Yeah. BZS has been working with Cosmic from day
Okay,
one.
yeah. So, but anyways,
me-
but someone like that comes in and he can't tell me what's different about which grow, and I'm just that guy that wants to know, and it's like, is it living soil? Okay, well, is it no-till or what are you guys doing? What kind of nutrient program are you running and that kind of thing. And I just like to get to know the people and I really like to go out and see the farm or the grow, whatever it is. It just helps me relate it to our staff and our customers. And, and that's still work, we're still super early in the game. So, I mean, I have tons of people to go out and meet yet. But I don't know, that's the way I've leaned. I just like it more personal and more direct right now. At least that's working for me. But yeah, it's more or less, I've got to stay on top of it as far as the reordering goes. Some people, I mean, with it being slow right now, even though it's more convenient for, a distributor to keep track of it, the people that I do buy direct from a lot of times will just kind of hit me up after a month, like, hey, how's everything going? You need something. And I'm kind of starting to get into a groove with, I know who I like for certain price points on the shelf. So it's like, okay, I'm going to need a 350 a gram jar next week. I'm going to call Brian or I'm going to call, whoever works into my price point, and then their practices line up and I like them as people, and they're just the kind of people that we want to partner with and support and hopefully have a long-term relationship with. So it's not just about like, oh, I'm trying to get that $200 a pound this week, so I can go make 10 times markup on it. And then who's the next farmer I can screw over next week? That's just the way I see a lot of it being done. And I don't think that's, I'm not into screwing either the farmer or the customer. I just don't feel like that's going to, get me where I want to go in the long run. So trying to do it the right way and hopefully be right by everybody.
That's cool. I think you're kind of a role model I think you're a role model for what the dispensary owner should be doing and prioritizing and valuing in this industry. So, and I think the Ganjier thing is going to be super awesome. And I would love to take any kind of workshops you want to bring to the region for sure. Cause I want to do that. It sounds like total fun too.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about and I'm just going to keep the recording on for another 10 minutes and then we're going to go ahead and we can
Before we move on,
oh yeah, go for it, Aaron.
can we ask Eddie about the Ganjier specifically? Because I think Ganjier service is really important for Southern Oregon family farms so that, I don't bring my Mac Diesel, Crayloa, any of the different breaths that I grow, because I have a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And say like, yeah, this is, the best weed I got. And like everybody else does the same thing, but I want it. Currently, the only thing that really happens is that when we go to a dispensary, we'd be like, here's all our stuff. And when the dispensary picks mine above a part of everybody else, or that feels really good. That's the only real feedback I have. So I think having a Ganjier rated and having our products all rated is really important on so many levels. It's silly not to, think of us wanting to move forward when that service is available.
Yeah, and there's a potential there too, where obviously everyone would hope to submit something and get a great score back, but it's a pretty good way to pinpoint if there are some shortcomings, and then trying to zero in on how to fix them. Some things could be real simple. It could just be handling and processing things. Other things could be genetics, it could be a nutrient, there's all kinds. There's just a bazillion ways things can go awry, but sometimes if you can be like, well, it looks great. but it's fallen short on flavor. Let's try to figure that out. Or the nose just isn't carrying through after a cure. You know, whatever it is, you can kind of, you know, and just start trying to put data points together instead of just guessing on everything. It gives you some pretty quantifiable feedback, you know, as far as specific quality indicators and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to you know, learn a little bit more about what it is that Ganji is doing, and kind of be a part of that too, like just
Yeah, how
learn
can Southern
a
Oregon
little
Family
bit
Farms
about it.
move forward with Ganjier? What, do you have a timeline? Are you guys available to help now, or?
Yeah, we are. In fact, I'm just getting started forming a separate entity, a consulting business where we'll offer that, you know, with some other private events and different things. So yeah, we could definitely, you know, figure something out. And if it ends up being something that you guys really want to pursue for the whole co-op, you know, then we'll figure out something other than, like, you know, because we're going to have, like, you know, a basic price for doing a single sample. But if you guys wanted to run a lot through, we'd find a way to make it affordable and, you know, make it beneficial to you guys, because it's beneficial to us to give us a lot to work with too, and, you know, kind of get this thing off the ground.
Have you thought about, since you're doing this Ganjier thing, maybe incorporating like a cup, a Ganjier cup?
Yeah, well, see, the Ganjier organization has a lot of deep roots in the Emerald Cup. So competition judging is where a lot of the assessment philosophy comes from. So I think on the cup thing, as I haven't heard rumblings as far as like us creating our own, but there's quite a bit of interest in having certified Ganjiers judge different ones. So like, I know I'm being considered for the Cowboy Cup in Oklahoma, which is going to go down in December. They're going to pull like 9 Ganjiers out to come out and do that. So I may or may not end up, but those kind of things, you know, and I'll definitely, I mean, it's been such a whirlwind since I got here, but I mean, I'd love to get to a point where I have time to reach out to like Oregon Leaf, you know, and stuff like that. And just, you know, hopefully get involved in some stuff that's more local too, you know, would be really fun. And that way it's like a higher visibility way for people to kind of find out what we're doing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that we can do, and the potential that we have, and like all the ideas and whatnot that we have, and just bringing them all, like realizing them and bringing all into reality is just kind of a step-by-step thing, and it develops. Just like us being here right now, having these meetings regularly, and then having like kind of the attendance that we have is a step. And so, yeah, any way, Eddie, you could like push that ball forward, giving, you know, implementing your, you know, your services into Southern Family Farms would be great. And bringing us in, and if we could benefit from it, that is absolutely awesome. We've got a little bit of time before I wanted to wrap this meeting up, as far as like the public facing meeting. But I wanted to talk about like some of the things that I did over the week from last week. I went ahead and reached out. At first I was talking to people on the phone directly, my other dispensary clients. And I established that my business, Calyx, has about 30 groups of people, I would say, like, so 30 clients essentially. And then we do probably 40 to 50 dispensary returns from those groups. And so I started talking to people directly about Southern Family Farms, and we were talking about pricing, and I'm kind of talking about like, hey, there was a lot of conversation about like, what is the price that we can sell our product and you can still make a profit, and like trying to really kind of hone in on that. Like, and so I went ahead and wrote an email and I sent it out to everybody, and I got a lot of positive responses. I'm going to put together kind of like a montage of the responses and remove the name, who it's coming from, just so that so then people can keep their anonymity, especially those that may have been a little bit more critical. But what I have learned is there's definitely a spectrum of dispensary owner. There are very much the business oriented people versus the people who are willing to sacrifice profit for the good of, say, the farmer. Then I also realized that there's a region difference. Medford, being very saturated, has different clientele than, say, the Idaho border or the Pacific, the coast. And so all of those things make a difference in terms of who cares more about supporting the co-op versus who's more concerned about moving product to stay in business. So in Medford, so some of the results are in Medford, besides Eddie. My experience is that their primary client are people who are looking for low cost. And it's very hard to support the co-op because this product they sell is like whatever they can sell for the lowest price. And I heard something like $12 an ounce. I don't honestly know what that means, but I suppose that's very low considering, like, what is that per pound? Is that, how many ounces are in a pound? 8 or
16.
16. So I don't know what that math is, but that's really low.
So 13 times 16 is $208. So that means that the dispensary is marking up the farmer's pound 100%. So they're buying it from the farmer for 100, marking it up 100 and selling it for 200.
Well, and that's if they're paying 100. So I've talked to some of my farm clients as well. One of them in particular was saying that he's just trying to move product. He needs the cash flow. He realized that he's not going to be profitable for his 2020 harvest, and he's like crossing his fingers for 2022. So some of the conversations I had with the dispensary owners are, that's what's happening and that's what we're buying. And we're not necessarily as concerned about quality or supporting the local community. That was one response. The other response is, so there's like the need to compete, at least in the Medford area. Then there are people who are like, yeah, I'll make a place for you. I will support the co-op. So there are a handful of people who are interested in supporting the co-op and sussing out that price. So the two questions I asked was, are you, can you make shelf space for Southern Oregon Family Farms? That was number one. And I really was approaching it as more like, can you help us by giving us information? Not, I'm selling to you. I'm not selling the Southern Oregon Family Farms to you yet, I guess. But initially it was, can you maintain shelf space to support the Southern Oregon Family Farmers outdoor craft or boutique cannabis, or however you want to describe it. And there was a couple of people who definitely, I talked on the phone and they responded to the email and they said, yes, we want to do that. And then the next question was, okay, what is the maximum price that you can charge and still make a profit? And I started to have that conversation, but when I mentioned we were attempting to move 2021 product, it was like, ooh, 2021, let's talk about 2022, let's talk about what we're going to pay for 2022 when 2022 hits the shelves. But 2021 was like, I got a lot of pullback on that conversation. They're like, I don't know, I don't know how much we'd be willing to spend on 2021 product. That was the feedback that I got. And instead it was like, yeah, we're going to maintain shelf space for you. And we're going to talk about 2022 prices, because that's a little bit of a different animal than talking about 2021 prices. So I didn't get a lot of forward momentum there in terms of like, what can we do now to support the co-op?
That's kind of crazy to me that they're pushing back on 2021. I wouldn't want to buy 2021 indoor right now, but there is no 2022 full term yet. So you're still buying 2021 if you're buying sun grown at this point, unless you're buying depths. So,
well, I think it was a matter of like the maximum price. Like there's so many people are being approached at such a low dollar that it's kind of like, are they, are they beholden to this maximum price that I'm talking about? Aaron?
Well, you bring up a great point, Eddie, and I really appreciate people like you still exist, because obviously this client that he's talking about is much more numbers focused. And the fact that I think this guy is talking about how the consumer sees the harvest date, right? So the consumer wants to buy fresh product, but that outdoor, if grown correctly, stored correctly, processed correctly, packaged and delivered correctly, it can maintain quality still through this point. But indoor, that would be really difficult to do. For example, I had a friend come by just yesterday with fresh depths and for $350 because he needs to cover his bills and whatnot. And I had to give him some points, like there's really, I would love us as a group getting our stuff together, because like we're really going to be able to help each other and pick things apart, because having an outside viewpoint on my products really is helpful. Because what I saw and showed him what I was doing, I showed him last year's outdoor tops that I think look like indoor. Like literally I could like advertise this as indoor, because these nugs are huge. They haven't ever been through the trimmer. They've only been touched by a little bit of scissor. They have complete like character, but that's just me. And when he saw it, he was like blown away, right? Because he's thinking fresh depths, it's hard to convey to everybody, but it's nice to see, Eddie, that, you definitely, walk the talk.
Trying. Yeah, I know. A lot of those guys too, they don't, it is just numbers on paper to them, and it's markups and percentages, and they don't know the difference in the flower they're looking at. So they don't understand, well, why would I pay 400 a pound for this when this guy's offering it to me for 200? They're both outdoor. And I mean, that's a battle that I don't know you can win, because there's zero knowledge behind the decisions being made. So it's pretty hard to, you got to fight fire with fire. And if there's no understanding of any of it to begin with, it's hard to lead them to the right place.
I'd like to have Christine in this conversation, and I'll probably bring this up to her later too, but what would you guys think about, like, if we did, I'll have Christine, see if Christine could send out a mass email, another Southern Oregon Family Farms email to the dispensary database that she has. I will create like a custom, just like kind of appeal to my clients to see if I can get them to join us in a Zoom meeting where Southern Oregon Family Farms could like introduce themselves. The farmers can introduce themselves, and we can like be there to answer questions and to like really get the tough questions asked, but then also to really introduce us as people to that group of people. How do you feel about that? Like doing something?
My opinion is that I'd suggest doing the same thing you're doing with your dispensary clients and sending them some sort of really easy to access short survey that will be like very minimal obligation on their behalf. But you could, in that same email, say, if you're interested, we have these Zoom meetings that we do, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And feel free to to participate.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to I could absolutely do that and bring people in, but I really want to be able to have, I want them, and I want the industry at large to be able to get the opportunity to meet us and see if there's like maybe a Thursday 10 a.m. meeting that we could all be at and like have a really cool, get the opportunity to have a really cool conversation with whoever shows up in attendance. I don't know how many that might be, but I would put it as more of a collaboration and an opportunity to give people, the dispensary owners, the opportunity to let us know what we need to know, like kind of form it that way. A lot of times I heard there is like the best thing that you could do for, what was it? It's like some words of wisdom. If you want somebody to like you, then you ask them for a favor. Have you heard that one? Yeah, ask them for a favor. So we're gonna
Yeah,
ask,
I mean,
we'll
it
ask
can
the
be as
dispensary
simple as
today,
being
like,
at
we
a
really need to
table.
know what you,
You
yeah,
could be
we
as
really
simple
need
as
to
at a
learn.
table and ask for them to say, hey, can you hand me that water? And just by them saying yes, giving you that water, that person's gonna be psychologically more apt to helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
That's
could be something,
manipulative
it could be
treatment.
something like that, but we definitely have to appeal. We have to do some selling, Sarah,
Oh.
Sarah has her hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that is a good idea to reach out to the dispensaries. And what you were saying, Aaron, to actually send a survey to the dispensary list that Christine
Okay.
has. Because they're, just like MailChimp has, I'm sure Mooseend has, the ability to do a survey email. And so then you can gather the data that way. But it's definitely like these hot topics, which are like, one, do they understand the value of sun grown? And two, do they understand the difference in, farms that are curing and storing it properly or not? And do they, do they understand the difference there? And are they willing to, purchase 2021 product once they've had their eyes and nose on it to know that that's the case, and to actually offer that, provide that in their stores to their customers? Because we've worked with a store that has multiple Eugene locations, and we've done a lot of business this year. Like, this year is the first year, but when I checked in with her last time, she said, "Oh, you know what? I have no doubts about the quality of your product, but our customers look at harvest dates, and we can't do 2021 anymore because it won't move." And it's funny because like we had just made a delivery like 2 weeks before that. So it's like, and she's seen, the quality stay the same throughout the whole summer. So it's not always a matter of the dispensary owner being unknowledgeable. It's that they're catering more to their customers that aren't knowledgeable. And then
What about a meeting or like a little workshop for bud tenders? Like if we were to invite the bud
Pretty cool.
tenders,
That could be really cool.
and that could go with that
NGA.
that survey. We could be like, hey, do you understand the value of sun grown? Do you know the difference between farms that are storing and curing their product properly? And then do you have a bud tender that would be interested in attending a meeting or something like that, where we could like talk to them about it? I don't know, something like that.
Something that I do, especially now at this, oh, sorry. Mark, were you
That's
about
it.
to
Yeah,
speak?
Mark, you had your hand up for a while and then you put it down.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I didn't realize.
Yeah, my question was pretty much answered. I was wondering if like the best way isn't to like just go to like events like Interchange and start like beating feet like, hey, do you want this like thing in there? But no, asking the questions and getting the idea of like where we should be marketing is really like key, because I think that's especially for the beginning of this group. So yeah.
Yeah, and right now our funds are very, very low.
Oh, for sure. But it's like I'm going.
I'm gonna be at
And-
Interchange. I'll be at
Yeah,
Interchange.
and like I don't know if any of you guys are going, but like being a part of the
I
group,
wish I
like
could.
I would definitely do it. Like I would rep you guys or whatever,
Yeah.
You're
We
talking
certainly,
interchange?
we wanted to go to the Interchange. It's just like that price is too high.
How much was it?
It was what, like
$3,500?
3,500?
Yeah.
3,500.
Was that the minimum? There was like a tiered pricing.
That's the
Yeah,
minimum.
I mean, that was absolutely the minimum. Like I was not, yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
pay with weed?
For retailers for free, because retailers, it's for retailers. It's not for farms, it's for retailers.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway.
Brutal. Yeah, that's a little brutal.
It's
We just
brutal
heard a
for
lot
the
of
price
promise
right
from
now.
it. we took a leap of faith because we had heard that's the best way pretty much to get on the face of like Portland. And that's really our weakest area. Like we're decently distributed. We're in like 50 to 20 shops, depending on time of year.
Yeah.
But Portland is so much potential. And like, I've already had distributors like, oh, you have sun-grown? I would love to distribute your stuff. And I'm like, who are you? And you're like some no-name guy. But he's like, oh, I have 90 shops that I can sell your sun-grown to at this price. You know, is it testing at this? And I was like, yeah. Like, it kind of seemed weird. But after like the third person from Portland kind of said that, I was like, okay, well, maybe Portland is like untapped for sun-grown that, you know, I'm missing here. Like, I don't know. So I've had a
It's
lot of like,
definite- Oh, no.
even like family friend, our grower, Danny's like cousin, he was like, yo, we need some sun-grown up here. Like Cookies Company was asking for more sun-grown. Like, it's weird. So like, I don't know.
No, the interchange is like exactly what we need, but that's too expensive for what a lot of particularly sun-grown farms are going through right now. So when we don't have
1000%.
any
Family farms. you
external
know,
funding to
yeah.
help out with, or like, you know, some kind of reserve, it's just really unfortunate that it's that expensive because it's exactly what we need.
Well, in the future, when we have a little bit bigger of an owner base and we've got more support and we got some funds, then that's definitely something that we'll be able to do. But right now, you know, it's asking a little bit much when we're only like 2 months old. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. Thank you guys. And then I